The outermost circle we call the treasured bookshelf. This is our circle of knowledge. And in the vast world of information and knowledge, the most crucial element is this treasured bookshelf. To build it, I've suggested 12 main categories. For each category, please aim to find and acquire around 10 treasured books. You can easily search on Google using keywords like essential books or classic reads, along with each category to help you choose. So, with 12 categories, you'll have about 120 essential books. If you want to invest more deeply, you could select 20 high-quality books for each category, bringing your total to 240. Think about this. Over 2 decades of your life, from childhood to adulthood, is reading 240 books a lot or a little? Realistically, it's quite meager. From elementary school through college graduation, a mere 240 books is a surprisingly small number. Do you know how many books the average person in Jewish communities reads each year? It's 64. People in Japan and France read around 30 annually. Singaporeans read 15, while in Vietnam the average is only about less than 1 book per year, 0.8 to be exact. That means, on average, Vietnamese people don't even finish a single book each year. This disheartening reality shows we need to step up our efforts significantly. So, let's set a modest goal just to match Singapore. 15 books a year. At that pace, in 10 years we'd read 150 books, and in 20 years, 300. This implies that by the time you're 23 or 24, as you step out of the university gates and into the world, you should have already digested all 240 of these essential books, perhaps even rereading many. Instead of reading aimlessly, without direction, focus on absorbing these 240 high-caliber books. When your mind is filled with intellectual gems, it's only a matter of time before your thinking becomes more refined and insightful. Few people truly recognize and value this point. Not many realize how important it is to curate your reading list. That's why school libraries are incredibly important. The number of treasured books in libraries needs to increase, while worthless books should be reduced. If children come to the library and every book they pick up is valuable, with no junk books around, they'll gradually develop a habit of reading quality material. At first they might choose a few average books, but eventually they'll naturally gravitate towards essential reads, and those intellectual essences will seep into them organically within a truly ideal library setting. And one day when they've read and appreciated high-quality books, it will be very hard for them to go back to ordinary books. For instance, if I pick up a novel by Nguyen Hat Anh now, I find it unreadable to me. Or take Diary of a Cricket Adventure. While I loved it as a child, rereading it now, I can only skim through it and quickly forget it. Once you've read essential books, you'll almost certainly pass over others. I highly recommend you try reading Tin Hoa Classics, Classical Quintessence. Once you've read this, you'll likely skip 9 out of 10 regular books, not wanting to read them anymore, because those books won't have the depth to hold your attention. In the treasured bookshelf, we need books about great figures and heroes, books about nature and animals, and books on human history. Books about nature and animals here aren't for answering why questions in a scattered way, but to nurture a love for nature and all living creatures and children. Why questions like in the 100,000 Whys series can keep kids studying their whole lives without remembering everything. Those kinds of books are fine to buy just 1 or 2 for fun, but they're not the knowledge that needs to be memorized. We don't need to memorize the exact size of the moon or sun, or the Earth's radius in kilometers. Those numbers are less important than understanding human history. For history books, children should start with Vietnamese history and then moved to global history. Sadly, there aren't many truly engaging and captivating Vietnamese history books available right now. Historical books written in a compelling way are starting to appear, but they were rare before. Now there are some decent sets. I've downloaded and sampled a few and they're okay, maybe a 6 out of 10. But older Vietnamese history books are truly dry as dust. You get bored after just 2 or 3 pages. If Vietnamese history books were as captivating as Romance of the Three Kingdoms, I guarantee every child would love reading them. Water Margin, Romance of the Three Kingdoms, Eastern Zhou Dynasties. If 10 kids pick these up, 9 will be hooked. So anyone with a real passion for writing and some historical knowledge, please take the time, gather a group of 3 or 4, and rewrite Vietnamese history stories to be truly engrossing and wonderful. You can start posting these stories on YouTube and Facebook, and someday when the time is right, someone will compile your work. For example, after 3 or 4 years of writing, you could publish a book. Just keep posting gradually, dynasty by dynasty. In about 10 years, we'll have Vietnamese history books that are incredibly charming and accessible, books that every child can read and enjoy. Because if reading is a chore, how can anyone read? If you can do this, the merit would be immense. Making Vietnamese people love Vietnamese history is invaluable. How do you teach children to love their country? If they don't love history, they can't truly love their country. Where people love history, there you find love for homeland and nation. Conversely, where people reject history, they're more likely to sell out their country. Think about whether this is true. When you reject history, you immediately incline toward betraying your nation. So, teaching patriotism is fundamentally teaching a love of history. Loving history is the root cause. Loving the country is the fruit. This is cause and effect thinking. History teachers are incredibly valuable educators. If you're a truly dedicated history teacher, you're the one who breathes the spirit of patriotism into children. And if you teach children world history, you'll instill in them a love for all humanity, for all living things. History teachers are highly valuable. I'd rate them even higher than civics teachers. There are a few subjects I value immensely, and if they were given their due importance, their weight in the curriculum should be the highest. These are history, civics, and literature. These 3 subjects deserve the highest priority. Because literature shapes a child's thinking, their mind, soul, and dreams. It helps children express their desires and aspirations through language openly. Forcing students to write templates is a mistake, and history teachers nurture children's dreams of patriotism, love for their nation and fatherland. Teaching world history helps them love the entire world, a profoundly meaningful lesson. Civics is essentially ethics, teaching the meaning of life. These are all incredible subjects, yet they're increasingly given less importance in the curriculum. Only literature, perhaps because it's still graded with a rubric, retains a slightly higher weight. It's truly sad. In my view, math, physics, and chemistry should have their weight reduced, while subjects like history, literature, and civics should be elevated. Only then would we truly reflect the saying, first learn ethics, then learn academics. Learning ethics is learning to be human, learning morality, learning to be a good person. Subjects like history, literature, and civics, which is ethics, should be valued more than natural sciences. Science, technology related to math, physics, chemistry, and physical health are also important, but what's the purpose of reading books in these areas? It's for career development. In our jobs, we use science and technology a lot, so to excel, we need to read in those fields. Regarding health, in our current times, human health is declining. Health is seriously deteriorating because of unhealthy diets. Everything seems to carry toxins. I remember 30 or 40 years ago, anything you bought outside was clean food. Organic, clean food was the norm. You couldn't find contaminated pork or vegetables anywhere. Now, when you go to the supermarket and see vegetables labeled Viet Gap, you still doubt if it's really Viet Gap or fake. We're unsure if these vegetables are truly clean. Suspicion clouds everything because so many things are counterfeit now. Finding food with truly clean meat and vegetables is almost impossible. Even clean vegetables today grow unbelievably fast. Back then, vegetables took 3 months to harvest. Now it's just 3 weeks. The nutritional content in today's vegetables is very low. The leaves are vibrant green, but the actual nutrition inside is minimal. Science has shown that the nutritional value in food compared to 30 years ago has dropped dramatically by up to 20 times. Back then, eating 1 apple was nutritionally equivalent to eating 20 apples today, even though today's apples might look sweeter and tastier. Therefore, books on health and fitness are also crucial for understanding nutrition and how to maintain our health. In health and fitness, one recommendation I have is to get some martial arts books for your children. Wuxia, martial hero novels and martial arts guides, like Kim Dung's stories. Get some of these for your kids. They might seem purely for entertainment, but they can spark an interest in learning martial arts. If you never expose your children to martial arts books, forcing them to take martial arts classes will be tough. When I was learning martial arts, I used to buy and devour martial arts books. Love, marriage, and family are also critical issues in modern society. Not just in Vietnam, but globally, love, marriage, and family aren't formally taught in schools. 12 years of grade school and 4 years of university without it. Meanwhile, math, physics, and chemistry are taught extensively, but after graduating, most of us don't use them in daily life. You mostly need basic math. Anyone here in business using sine, cosine, tangent? No hands raised. Anyone starting a family and needing acid-base reactions to make salt and water? Again, no hands. Exactly. A subject that follows us our whole lives, love, marriage, family, isn't taught. Imagine, you start dating at 20, marry at 27, and live together until 70, 80, or longer. This subject is with you for 50 years, daily, yet it's not formally taught. Instead, we break our backs learning sine, cosine, tangent, integrals, derivatives, acid-base reactions, and complex chemical formulas with tangled hexagons. And then students are forced to memorize it all. How can they? They can't possibly remember everything, and even if they do, what's the real-world application for most people? Very little. Those specializing in these fields should study them deeply, but for the majority, 99% of us who don't use them, let's teach less of those natural sciences. Finland has already removed math, physics, and chemistry from their compulsory curriculum. They've drastically cut down subjects. When we visited Finland, we were surprised, and when we asked, "What's a passing grade in Finland?" Guess what they said? 1 point is passing. 0 points are failing, but 1 point is passing. Their grading scale is out of 5, with 5 being the highest, and 1 is just meeting requirements. Amazing, right? If Vietnam also made 2 points passing, every student would probably pass. Suddenly, subjects become much lighter, and students aren't under so much pressure. If an exam has 5 questions, students only need to get 1 right to pass. Not getting the other 4 is okay. And when students are poor at a subject, there's a major upside. Finland isn't afraid of students being poor in some subjects. They believe there's a reason if a student is poor in something. Subjects they love and are passionate about, they'll excel in. But forcing them to be good at everything is impossible. No one can truly master everything. There are only 24 hours a day. Expecting students to be excellent in 12 subjects is unrealistic. Only a mad person could master 12 subjects. Being truly excellent in just 2 or 3 subjects is already exceptional, and when you bring those 2 or 3 areas of expertise into the world, you become a leading expert in your field, and your path in life will naturally become smooth and wide open. But leveling everyone across 12 subjects is killing students' potential. Yet, the Vietnamese education system still follows this cookie-cutter approach, truly unfortunate. Not teaching love, marriage, and family is such a missed opportunity, and parenting skills are also not taught. These subjects should be in the school curriculum and taught progressively, but they're not valued enough. So, for this knowledge, you must buy books and learn on your own. Personal development and career development are areas with many books to explore. For books on personal and career development, check out the 120 essential books set I mentioned. If you get this set and listen to it, it will take 5 years to finish. Listening to 1 chapter a day, it's a 5-year journey. If you listen more diligently, say 6 hours a day, 3 times the pace, it'll take about 1.5 years to finish. It's a portable library, not just ordinary books. Books on psychology, personnel management, and teamwork are also vital. If your work involves a lot of human interaction, you absolutely must read books on personnel, teamwork, and psychology. It's essential. I've placed ethics and morality books last in the list, but these are the 2 sets I consider most important for a family bookshelf: ethics and morality. The starting point for ethics and morality is books about great people and heroes, nature and animals, and human history. These first 3 categories are the ideal starting point, perfect for all children because they're entertaining and spark interest in reading. But after kids have read these, guide them towards ethics and morality books. Because ethics and morality books will help form a solid core of character in each person, helping build a strong foundation of virtue, focus, and wisdom. Without ethics and morality books, the family bookshelf loses at least half its value. It becomes just books about careers and family life, and we'll just keep spinning our wheels with daily survival, family issues, business, and end life without truly grasping the deeper meaning of existence. This is also how Tuijuk School is implementing education, starting from the 3 roots: ethics, wisdom, and willpower, and moving towards its teaching methods. Remember, each child has a different personality. If we categorize based on the 8 intelligences, we can roughly divide them into 8 personality types. With 8 personality types, we'd need 8 types of teachers, very difficult and complex. So, Tuijuk School chooses to teach kids through experiential learning. Experiential learning means bringing lessons into real-life contexts and bringing real life into lessons. Regardless of personality, children will eventually have to enter real life, right? Whether introverted or extroverted, after graduation, you must step into the world to work and contribute. So, how do we bring life into the classroom? How do we help children understand life? Experiential learning makes lessons incredibly valuable and meaningful. The theory behind experiential learning is simple, but for teachers to apply it flexibly and effectively, they need thorough year-long training. That's for dedicated teachers. For those without passion, even a lifetime of training might not be enough. Experiential learning helps education adapt to children's diverse personalities. Additionally, the program emphasizes skill building for students. The skill circle is still maintained at Tuijuk, and the outermost circle is the knowledge circle. Knowledge is conveyed through 2 main languages, Vietnamese and English. Vietnamese being the native language is naturally emphasized. The outer knowledge circle usually only lists English because parents often ask about the English program, less so about the Vietnamese. Vietnamese is assumed to be a given. Educational philosophy must permeate every aspect of the curriculum. Now let's look at the history tree. Some newcomers might be wondering about improving lesson quality or innovating teaching to join the innovative teacher team. This is a specific example. This is the history tree. We see the Hong Bang period at the start. The Vân Lang state with 18 Hung kings is here. The U Lac state of Thuc Phan is here. For each historical period we have a timeline milestone. On each milestone we attach lotus petals. Each petal represents a historical landmark, a key story children need to know. Moving into the Vân Lang period, we have landmarks about Thuc Phan, Mi Chau, Trong Thuy, and the Ko Loa citadel. Next is the first Chinese domination period, then the Hai Ba Trung uprising. Though successful, the Hai Ba Trung uprising was quickly suppressed, lasting only 3 years. Then came the Ba Trieu uprising, which was just one battle and ended in failure. Ba Trieu failed due to excessive zeal, lacking patience and composure. Of the 3 virtues, courage, patience, and composure, Ba Trieu had abundant courage but lacked patience and composure, leading to defeat. She was too hasty. When the enemy used the trick of bringing out bronze drums and defiling them, Ba Trieu was enraged and sent all her troops to reclaim them, only to be ambushed and completely defeated. The drums weren't worth the concern. Preserving the fortress and forces was crucial. This was a mistake driven by emotion. After that came the Vanchuan state under Li Namjie, then the uprisings of Feng Hung, Mai Hak Jie, and the Third Chinese domination period. Then began the period of self-rule with Cuc Thua Du and Ngo Quyen. Ngo Quien's era lasted 63 years, followed by the Jin Tian Huang and Tian Lei dynasties. You see, Jin Tian Huang quelled the 12th Warlords' Rebellion, reorganized the bureaucracy and army, and built the Hoa Lu capital, renaming the country Jai Co Viet. Then came the Li Tran dynasty, the golden age of our national history. The Li dynasty lasted 226 years, Tran 175, totaling 401 years. The Li Tran dynasty was the peak of our nation's history, a time of immense prosperity and peace. Rice filled the paddies, buffaloes was too full to eat, and you could walk with a bag of gold and no one would take it. Kings acted like kings, officials like officials, people like people, soldiers like soldiers. Law and order were established. It was a golden age. Li Kong Yuan ascended the throne. Li Thuong Kiet emerged. Li Thuong Kiet's famous battle was the Nu Nguyet River defense. Then came the Tran dynasty with 3 resistances against the Mongol invasions. Truk Lam Yen Tu Zen Buddhism emerged in this period. The 3 Mongol resistances under the Tran dynasty saw Tran Hung Jiao, a brilliant general, lead our people to victory. Tran Khan's ascension began the Tran dynasty. All major historical events are shown on the history tree. Children learn history using a historical periodic table, making it easier to visualize and remember periods and events. Learning chemical elements with Mendeleev's table was already easier, and this history tree makes history much easier too. Without the periodic table, learning elements would be incredibly difficult. With this history tree, I guarantee we can cover the entire Vietnamese history curriculum in just 2 years thoroughly. We used to study history for 12 years and still forget everything, not grasping the timeline of dynasties. Teaching with this history tree, I'm sure we can finish all of Vietnamese history from grades 6 to 8. Because each dynasty has only a few key stories, we don't need to memorize everything. For example, the Tran dynasty needs only about 6 to 8 key stories. The important thing is remembering the stories, not dates of birth and death of figures. When I talk about Pham Ngulao, Yet Kieu, Dun Tuong, do I mention their birth or death years, or how many children they had? Number. We don't need those details, yet old history exams often made students memorize such trivia, needlessly burdening them. That's learning by trivia. The history tree continues to the Mac, later Lê, Tai Son dynasties, then the Nguyen dynasty under French rule, then the North-South division and war, and finally our current era from 1975 to now, a unified Vietnam. All of Vietnamese history neatly packaged in a visual and dynamic history tree. In total, Vietnamese history spans about 15 main dynasties, 15 dynasty milestones, each with 3 to 8 lotus petals. Averaging 3 petals per milestone, 15 dynasties have 45 stories, each story on one page, just 45 pages needed. With 8 petals per milestone, it's about 200 stories. Essentially, a book of about 200 pages, each page about a lotus petal, can cover all of Vietnamese history logically and clearly. Learning history becomes as enjoyable as playtime. Teaching it is also fun. Showing documentaries, telling stories, discussing, doing anything to help students grasp the main points and recall the key petals. A history lesson like this, how can students not love it? This history tree should be printed large and put on walls in visible places for children to see daily. For example, if yesterday's lesson was on the Lý dynasty, today before starting the teacher can recap. Yesterday we got to here. Today we continue to this point. Today's lesson is the August Revolution. Please read about it beforehand. At home, students can Google August Revolution to prepare. In class, the teacher briefly lectures, then organizes group discussions, sharing what they've read. After discussion, show a documentary clip on the August Revolution. Focusing on key stories from this period, show the film and class is over. A history lesson like this, how can it not be effective and fun? History tree through dynasties. Teaching history is a breeze. Each dynasty has a key milestone with typical figures. Loving history is the cause. Loving country is the effect. Teach history well and children will naturally love their country. Teach history well and they'll love their nation, be proud of their heritage. Teach literature well and children will love life. Life is literature. History makes children patriotic and proud. Teach ethics well and they'll love moral character. A huge responsibility rests on teachers. If you send your children to school and the teachers aren't good enough, you must accept that parents are their best teachers. Parents must learn, delve into knowledge, and then pass it on to their children.